So welcome you all to Pocket HRMS Smart Talk. And today we have a guest speaker, Mr. Deepak Dhar. So talking about Mr. Deepak sir is the founder and CEO of Repute Networks Private Limited. And he has been involved in the Indian startup ecosystem for more than a decade now. He was a founding member of CitrusPay, which was later acquired by PayU. He was a co-founder of India's largest house rental startup, Nestaway. You must have heard about this name, Nestaway. Then in 2019, with the idea of creating an instant trust between two transacting entities, Deepak sir moved out to found Repute Networks. And the Repute is focusing on connecting the professional ecosystems to foster trust amongst the various stakeholders. Okay. Please welcome Mr. Deepak Dhar on this wonderful evening. And so Deepak sir, over to you. And so the first, before starting the session, I would like to clarify a few things. The kind of the how the session will go. Like Deepak sir will have a session, and at the end of the session, if you have any kind of doubts, please note it down. Do not unmute yourself or try to unmute yourself or try to ask question in between. Note it down, and once session gets over, we'll give an opportunity to ask the questions, or else you can put in chat box so that I'll ask Deepak sir the question. Cool. Are we clear about that? If yes, please put yes in the chat box so that we can go ahead. Thank you, Binu, for the confirmation. So over to you, Deepak sir.
Thanks, Gaurav. Good evening, everyone. I am Deepak, as Gaurav introduced me. I'm founder of Repute Networks. We have been fortunate to work with Pocket HRMS for almost a year now, trying to build up what can be the new background verification, apart from a lot of other things as well. So thank you for the opportunity, Gaurav, and thank you everyone for giving me a chance to speak about what we have, and maybe we can take it up from there. So I can present my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Again, yes, Gaurav's protocol.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are just looking at adapting to the new era of employee background verification. And before we start with that, we have a question on that. Why are we even doing background verification? And one of the most common answer, at least once you have been into the ecosystem for long enough, is compliance requirement. We do not know whatever is the reason, but let's do that. At least at entry level, that's how we go about it. More of a hassle, more of checking the box rather than really with the core intent of what we can do. Of course, there's a legal compliance. There are places where it's a requirement by the government itself that all these policies have to happen, or there are policies by the companies themselves that they want to do it. But what is the reason why they want to have this as a requirement, which is even a compliance that we should all do it on that? First and foremost is, of course, safety. When we are talking about safety, we are talking about safety of our customers. When an employee come on board, there are times like if we are talking about our employees who are going to be in face-to-face situations with the customer as well, very simply comes to our mind is maybe a Uber or Ola driver, maybe a Swiggy or Zomato delivery boy. But there are many more such things where there is a face-to-face interaction, or otherwise where the customer is representing the organization, is going to be in touch with the employees that we have. And for their safety per se, we need to ensure that people who are coming on board are people whom we have verified. When we say customer, it's not just about their physical safety, it's also about their data safety. It's also about their own reputation safety. When we are doing something, if one of our employees does something which impacts their reputation or uses their data, I think that again was one of the early reasons when we started the background verification process, especially in the places where a lot of outsourcing was happening in the industries. So first and foremost, of course, we go and we've spoken about, because customer safety, physical data, and even legal and other things. Safety is also for our own workplace. Imagine hiring somebody with a criminal past, being present with all your other employees, and creating a risk which can kind of unleash itself any given point of time. So definitely creating safety for the workplace also is very, very important. Third piece is as reputation of a customer comes or employees come, eventually it is reputation of your organization that is at line, because people are representing the organization or the company. If there is something that goes wrong, then it may damage it for a way longer, in a way bigger way than we could generally say take the risk with us on that. So better is, let us at least try to find out what kind of people we have and try to mitigate those risks. So that's the thought process that we go with, of course. There's another side where we go with, it's not just related to risk or safety, it's related to hiring. When we are trying to hire, a lot of signals that we get related to a candidate's say skills and knowledge is through what he has done in the past, which is where he has worked, what kind of corporates he has, companies he has worked, what kind of jobs he has worked. So it's a signaling about his capability, as well as kind of knowledge that he has acquired over a period of time. Now, ideally we would want, in a world where we can do an interview and through whatever tests we are trying to do, we should be able to guess everything that we are doing. But that's just one data point. If we are trying to get, say, interview a candidate, even if it's 7-8 rounds, eventually it goes up to that this is 8 points of data point, 8 set of data points that we get based on the interviews. But then there are a lot more data point which goes to where did the candidate go to school, where did the candidate go to college, where did the candidate go to has worked in the past. So all those signals give us idea beyond the interviews also. And if somebody is fudging some of these activities, then it becomes very difficult for, or at least the data points that we are relying on may not be true. And that starts with that. It's not just knowledge and skill, it's also about attitude of the person who's coming in. And a lot of time we want to go for reference checks also, whether the person is going to be a culturally fit to the organization. So we want to ask people who have worked with them in the past questions on which are related to trying to find a culture fit that we have. Now, if you look at it, some of it is great. It is when we are doing a reference check, it's generally a very hard activity to go back and find the right candidate or right people to ask and gather the information that is required. Even if somebody is speaking, it's always reading between the lines exercise to figure out whether what part of it should we believe, what part of it we should feel like this has just been person speaking nice about an ex-employee. So that itself is also a skill, and we'll come back to this in future. Like, these are the things that we are going for. One is definitely compliance, which is related to or legal compliance, etc. We don't have a choice; we have to do that. Most importantly, second point was safety, whether it is customers, our own employees, workplace, or our brand and reputation that is there. And second or third major element that comes is trying to ascertain the knowledge, skill, and attitude of person by probably looking at his past on that. So getting to know about income and employment is not just about the past, it's also about present, where as organization and the employer of people, we keep coming into picture. Whether it is lending, of course, everybody wants to know where is somebody working and how much is he earning. There's nowadays, we have heard at least in Bangalore stories where people definitely are saying that if you're not working for so and so company, maybe I can't even rent you out. I'm sure many of us would have had cases where there's distant relative who has asked us to find out whether that person really work at this place or not. And this goes on. So it's here we are not really the beneficial party as such today, where we are saying that we are the one who's verifying because the employee is coming on board, but it is like we giving back information to the ecosystem, not just to other employers, but to other parties into the ecosystem who are going to be interested in knowing their current, not just their past on that. And here we play a role because we do issue information or letters and all those things to the people. But the most important thing here is it's not about the past. The most important thing is the future on that. When we are doing a background check, we are trying to make a hypothesis that based on the past, the person is going to behave like this in the future. But there's always a first time when something happens. So past may give us probability, but not certainty. That is where the other half of the background verification, where we are helping somebody else do the verification, comes into picture, because that's what creates the difference. If when the organization is today working, when an employee or a candidate is today working with an organization over a period of time, this particular employee always knows or knows that in case something goes wrong today, this is something which is going to impact his future in some sense. And that is what makes him do, or at least control himself a lot of times, where it may seem like, what can the company do to me today, or what can this particular uh, other employee or customer they can do to me and that. And then you just try to take advantage of the fact of your anonymity, that you do something and you just run away, and after that hope that nothing will happen. This is where as organization we participating into the ecosystem matters a lot. So it's not just about we being able to verify uh, the employee, the background of that, but when we are the background, or we as organization have the background, we contributing back to the ecosystem with the background is something which creates the maximum amount of impact into the entire process. How has background verification really evolved over a period of time? When we started out, I think it was a very, very disconnected physical choices. We asked for documents, and we believed documents, because forgery of documents was not so easy that way. I mean, you needed, even if there was something, it was still a skilled job for somebody to be able to do. So we relied on few documents and relied on few data points that came with it. Over a period of time now, we have reached a world where, due to AI and generative AI, faking and everything else is very, very easy. So it's not a question of we just being able to rely on some of the documents which have been provided. It is something where we have to go back to the source of the data or source of the document to really find out the authenticity of the document. We cannot just collect document, believe they are true. It's becoming very, very easy to create whatever document really we want on that. Same thing is, it's not just authenticity of document, it's number of things that we are claiming, or number of data points that we are claiming for ourselves. Those are also increasing. Similarly, the number of data points that our organization wants to check is also something that are increasing continuously. We started with education and work history. We added address, or just to know where that we can find that in case person is required someday. We moved to credit records. There's credit scores now, criminal records, now credit scores. There's social media, and we're just trying to get as in more and more type of data points that are coming. Of course, as we are going more and more data points, and we are working towards a world where everything that is presented to us may not be trusted, the old systems cannot work. The old system where we are depending on manual efforts or checking at some level, that cannot work. We have to move to the new world. And that new world is where, to begin with, we call it connected systems. That we worked in a world so far, which I'll say, which is closed system, where We had a workflow part. We had something which did a job for us where it was configured and it moved the work packet from one person to another within the team, and it kind of finished the job for us. But now with the amount of work that we have to do in terms of number of checks that we are trying to do and other things, we definitely want to make sure that our systems are connected. The place from where I start the work, let's say in a lot of your case, if you're using Pocket HRMS as your core HRMS system, then when you are onboarding an employee at that point of time itself, you would want your work to flow to various onboarding tasks, which is that onboarding tasks might be related to maybe, of course, once offer has been accepted, initiating a background verification. It might be initiating enrollment into insurance and various other downstream work that happens at the time of onboarding on that. So that is what connected system gives us, which is being able to start and automate the workflow right from the systems that we are using. So that, and it's not just that we are working in silos and systems. One is these systems are connected. Second is you can automate the workflow so that overall this process can scale up as much as we want on that. For connected systems to work, of course, there is, or for workflows to work, one is uh, being able to connect the system. Second is integrate the service providers that are present. Now, if the service providers, let's say one of the service, I mean, we have InstaVeritas, who is currently integrated right into Pocket HRMS at that state. So whatever we have, if the service provider is connected directly to your system, that work of taking the job outside into emails and then bringing back the data back from email to system, all of that is reduced. So again, that allows you to scale up so that you don't skip something simply because it's tedious to do. Another major factor, at least as India, we should really look forward to is the digital public infrastructure. There's a lot of digital public infrastructure which is getting created. DigiLocker is a prime example. Identity document, PAN card, all of them are available. They can very easily be fetched. So there's no point of collecting document and then verifying when you can really start the process directly from the source of the data. So it works for you without, so one collection really solves both collection as well as verification for you. We have in DigiLocker various other documents getting added, like class 10th and class 12th exam certificates are available at least for last 5-6 years, and maybe they're increasing as we are talking every time on that. We also have a lot of further universities and undergraduate institutes putting up their educational certificates there. So again, as one is definitely, there's always going to be a thing which would not be available digitally. So we need to have our trusted service provider available as a connected system into our trusted HRMS that we are working with. But secondly is, as and when the digital connectivity or digital infrastructure improves, whatever is available, we should also be able to leverage that to make sure both the scalability as well as the speed and authenticity of the process goes on. So definitely connected systems is one layer that is moving forward to that. And second part comes is even when systems become connected and it becomes complex, we still want a lot of other things that can come into pictures. Like today, there is a larger work packet which goes out, which is this is a background verification, finish it and come back. And this might be a thing which may not really suit for everybody, but for some of the people, which is who should we give this job to in terms of if it is a junior employee up to such experience, we want to probably pass it on to this particular service provider. If it is a higher value, it should go to another person. If it is related to, so this is at a very basic level load balancing that I've already passed on 20 jobs based on whatever we have done in the past to one particular service provider, and now somehow we have choked him, and it is going to take time for all of those. So, but can I move to somebody else to make sure I can balance the load and kind of continue to have my work keep coming back. Or if somebody is who has a slightly slack time, some other service provider, and they can pick up the job and can get around for us faster. Same is, it can further enhance to the intelligent routing in terms of, let's say we have an employee who's coming on board, which worked with Infosys earlier. Now, out of the service providers that are available for me, who's the person who gets the Infosys background or job verification done fastest? Probably, can I just assign it to that particular vendor? And these are the intelligent rules that can be put up into the system, which can build up on that. And so overall is, how do we get to, maybe again similarly, who is the most cost efficient in terms of the people I am working with today for this particular job? Can I route this to that particular service provider on that? So that can be, that is the next step that we can take as we are automating the jobs, as we are connecting the systems. Now we are making the systems not just connected, but slightly more intelligent as well, so that they can find how the work needs to be done and where we can go on that. Next step is going even further, which is networks. And this is something which we are working towards extensively over a period of time now. And to give you an example of what is a network, let's say today, or an open network, that we can do. And India as is something who is pioneering this entire open network concept. We are moving away, or we have kind of leapfrogged the generation of systems, and directly moving towards the networks. UPI is one good example of that, where instead of having maybe a centralized system where both the buyer and seller had to be on one payment app, suddenly a buyer can be on one payment app, a seller can be on another payment app, a buyer can be using bank X, a seller can be using bank Y, and still a transaction can happen. If we, to simplify and put it in our context, let's say right now all of us have to speak to each other, and for that both of us had to be on Microsoft Teams. Let's say I have a preferred method, which is Zoom, or which is Google Meets. Now it's not possible that I am on Google Meets and some people are on Teams and some people are on, say, Zoom, and still we are all able to chat here and be able to present in this. But this is very much possible, let's say, for emails. Right now, I might be on Google Suite, you might be on Microsoft, somebody else might be on a third self-hosted service. We all of us are able to send emails to each other. This is what is the network part, which is where people are connected and protocol is defined, so you can really use the network itself. This is network-wise where we are saying the employees can directly be connected to each other. And there's a lot of work which can happen, which today was a very big activity. Like before UPI, making electronic payment was something that we used only when it was a big deal. Then we will take out, because carrying so much cash was inconvenient. But for every small transaction, we used maybe a cash or a simple thing that we can work with. But with UPI, it really made is every small transaction can also be electronic, simply because it's now very convenient and it's widespread and connected on that. I believe that is the kind of things or opportunities network will unleash. It would not be a big bang background verification that will go in. There might be very, very small transactions that can happen between the employers, which can not just reduce the cost of the entire transaction, but also increase the number of use cases that we can work towards what background verification is used today for. What is future really? Future is not checking background. As we were telling, the verification when we started out initially, which is related, let's say we call up somebody who has been a past manager or past employee for doing a verification call. Now, the person who is doing the verification, his intent or his interest are not affected in any way with what he speaks. Let's say one of the employees have left our organization and he has joined somewhere, and a background verification call comes to me. if let's say we have for some reason let them go and I want to help this person find a job, I'm actually going to speak very, very positive about the employee so that person should get consumed somewhere. Whereas it might be a case there is somebody who's very good, but when he's leaving and because he has left us in a alert some way, then I may not actually speak very positive about him. So today, the entire background verification is dependent on views of one or two people within our organization. It may not be as widespread as it is that we would like it to be. Secondly, there's not a sufficient incentive for people to really tell what they would want to, or to be accountable for what they are saying to the next person who is relying on their words to some extent for taking a decision on that side. That is where what we call reputation and not just the background will come in. It will work two ways, which is my data is accrued to me, which I can present in future. Second is holding people accountable in terms of if you are saying somebody is great and that information, like we have a review and rating system that we see for a lot of places where publicly it is known there is a 4-star, 5-star, 3-star. Of course, we will not have a 4-star, 5-star, 3-star publicly available for the kind of use cases that we are looking at, but something which an employee can carry forward, which has been accumulated over a period of time and is readily available for him to show him or her to showcase and create an instant trust to the person who is relying on the employee. So future is not just a background check, but actually building and carrying your reputation with you. I think with that, I would like to pause and probably we can have some questions and then we can take it up further.
Okay, guys. So I hope you guys have noted down the questions. You must be having some queries. You can simply raise your hand or put it in the chat box that you want to speak so that I can unmute you. Or else you can simply put your question in the chat box. So behalf of you, I can ask the question. Okay, cool. So there's a question from Kashyap Upadhyay. Like, what is automated workflow?
So automated workflow is workflow. Of course, we know automated workflows are something where a job is moving and work packet is going from say one person to another person within the organization, which can happen. So this is not something new. This is already existing where if you're using, let's say, Pocket HRMS right now, there you can create workflows for various kind of things. Like after doing activity X, I should do activity Y, then I should do activity Z, and so on, so that I know something can finish. Our challenge right now happens is the workflows might be related to just a system, that the activities which have to be done within the organization, we can create such workflows where different teams or different people in the teams can do that activity. If the workflows span organizational boundaries or system boundaries, let's say workflow goes from HRMS where the HR person is doing something to a finance person where finance person has to, let's say, process the payroll. Now the workflow actually is crossing the system boundaries, or workflow might be crossing organization boundaries, which is you speaking to our system, your system, which is Pocket HRMS, really speaking to a different system, which is, let's say, Instaveritas system, where you are going to create a job for background verification for them. So while it is internally within one particular team or within this ecosystem or within the people who are using the same system, workflows are very easy. We can create them, and a lot of different tools are supporting that. When the workflows cross organizational boundaries, system boundaries, that is the place where we start getting into trouble, where we need connected systems so that workflows which cross these boundaries can also be automated. And a prime example might be that once the data is collected, please initiate the background verification as soon as somebody has signed the offer letter and has given us this data. So there's, as a HR manager who is responsible for onboarding, I do not have to really do anything because this work flows to the next party, and I'm free to handle more and more exceptions rather than the routine work that is present. Follow up with candidate, get the documents, pass it on to the background service provider, and so on and so forth. So automated workflow is not the big part. Automated workflows still exist. I think automated workflows which cross system and organization boundaries is what is something which is happening now and which is going to enable more and more HR processes to keep running on their own rather than manual intervention.
I hope this answers your question, Kashyap. If you have any doubts, you can even ask. So it's mentioned in terms of background verification only.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, so there's a question by Binu, P. Binu. Can you explain about credit score and social media screening?
I think especially when there is a job which requires a lot of financial, say, responsibility. So a lot of organizations do want to make sure that a person is financially in a good state, not just the salary that they are giving. This is a service which can be enabled in the system. I think this is because this is provided by somebody else. So there are charges which are provided, which is in. I think we're talking about credit score and social media scores right now. I'll finish that. I'll take the next question after that. So credit score is where we are helping the organization where the candidates or the employees are handling a lot of financial responsibility to really check if a candidate is or employee is doing financially well and is not really creating a risk where he may commit some sort of fraud out of desperation. So there are organizations who are trying to seek the credit score and they are taking that up. Social media screening is again, we have this as more recent thing going on where organizations want to check holistically, which is whatever fingerprints they can find about an individual in social media, trying to understand the candidate more from how does the candidate think and what is the behavior outside work and all this. This is something which is for us. This is again one of those moral gray zones which there are places which are very my personas are very different. My professional persona is very different from my, let's say, religious persona or my political persona or my personal persona, which may be represented on various kind of different social media presence that are there. So this is something which is, I think it's again a gray zone where people are trying to look to as many data points as possible, but with more and more, I think personal data protection bill coming in, these things will get regulated on what all are we able to access or are the organization able to access and are able to use for deciding on candidates, say, job application. Could I answer the question, Bill? If there's anything
yes.
that is
So I hope you know this answer. I hope you are satisfied with the answer, Binu. Yes, thanks. So we'll move towards the next question. There's a question by Kalpana. How it is connected to Pocket HRMS? This is Pocket HRMS. Shall we have to pay any for the solution? Yes, Kalpana. This comes as a additional add-on, and you can contact your account manager or the implementation manager, and he or she will give you the in detail information about this add-on, how you can enable this thing. So any other question?
I think one of the trends which we haven't really covered in that was the continuous monitoring part. That it's not just a question of doing it once when we are starting out. It's something like a lot of people are continuing to monitor. That was related to a bit on the social media part, but it's not just social media, but otherwise as well. Especially, I think one of the bigger concern earlier was people moonlighting and people working two jobs at a time because a lot of it was remote. So each one of them add various level of complexity to the check on that, where it is because it is remote. So moonlighting and two jobs and three jobs are was possible that a person is taking it up. So the complexity has increased. So some of them goes up and down depending on the current economic the ecosystem, the way it is working, which is how much of it is remote, how much it is in person, and everything else. So. I think this part will stay, is becoming more and more prevalent, which is continuously monitor the employee and not just kind of do it once and go ahead. If we
Yes, my other device got freezed, so I had to log in from another device, I guess. So guys, can you hear me? If you have any other questions, please. Hello. If you have any other questions, please put it in the chat box so that we can, answer those things. Or else you can even raise your hand and I can make you enable your mic so that if you can ask question directly as well. Okay, so there's one question by Kalpana. For the background verification, we are capturing the verification of his or her previous employment only for whole career verification.
So Kalpana, this is again a lot of organizations' policies. Some organizations are happy just to get the last job or last 3 years worth of job that they would want to find out about. Some organizations would want to really have an entire trace of what the candidate has done in the past. So they would want to check everything that somebody has done. And a lot of time it goes into, say, 10 years, 12 years, and there might be something buried deep into the past. So the more responsible a job is, I think the longer somebody goes back in the past to find out, to make sure that everything is good and there are no red flags for that. One point here for sure that as an ecosystem we all need to consider is we a lot of this work is very, very repetitive. That it goes into first organization X went back and did a education verification, also did say employment verification up to that particular point of time. Now the person moves from X to a new organization Y. Now this Y organization is also going to go back and do the entire process all over again, which is going to be starting from education and then all the past verification. I think if all of this can be more creative in nature, where we can use what has already been done, I think that will help the entire ecosystem and bring the overall cost to some extent. The problem here is just that we are not really sure what kind of stringent checks have the previous organization done, and can we rely on their method to do something, or would we want to? And most of the larger organization would want to make sure that they are controlling the entire process themselves and not really trust whatever the previous organization would have done.
Thanks. Thanks, Sultan, for the question. Anyone else has any question?
Given that we have a few more minutes, and I think one of the major parts that we skipped over is not just the organization experience in working out things at the organization level, but also at the employee level. For an employee, also they're going through the entire process of background verification, trying to arrange for things. Is a tedious process. Is finding documents, submitting documents, arranging for references, and that. So and every job change, they have to do that activity all over again for that. So definitely we should look at making sure that we're providing a great employee experience as well, where not just the service provider is considerate of the employee's time as well as effort in making or completing the background verification process, and also allowing employee to really present what they would want to bring forth, which can kind of enhance their chances within the organization. So it's not just about organization, it's also about the candidate, it's also about, I mean, the stakeholders otherwise that are present in the system. We might be requester, we might be responder. So we as requester, our experience, as well as we as responder, our experience. Responder as experience for us is today, I think there are going to be mails that are going to come into you. And now over that mail, to answer that, you will log into your HR system, find out the details, fill the mail and send it back on that. So we have so far tried to say that let's automate the work, let's make it easier for requesting background verification and concluding that. But responding, again, somebody's spending that time every day, which is which really you can set it to auto respond mode as well, where you can set up your work verification in a manner where the requests are going to land up directly into your HRMS, and the data will be pre-filled based on what is present in the HRMS. And depending on your company policies, that I want to, according to our company policies, we share X, Y, and Z, and we don't share A, B, and C. The data will be pre-filled, the response will be pre-filled for the request that has come to you, and either you can just respond by a click of a button, or if you're comfortable, you can even set up an auto responding rule where as soon as the request comes, go through the data, find out, fill it up, and according to the policies, whatever is allowed, respond back to the requester on that. So I think there are multiple stakeholders involved into the entire process, and we need to kind of work for everybody, including service providers. Like service providers are trying to get to know there are deficiencies in the system, and there's a communication channel that has to stay between where three parties are involved: employer, the candidate, and the service provider. So a lot of time this collaboration also need to happen, which is also important for that. So as a background verification process, we need to kind of take care of the experience of each of the parties and for each of the sides, whether they're requester or responder.
Any other question? So Deepak sir, I would like to ask one question from my side, if anyone is not asking. So basically nowadays there is this privacy concern is rising in the industry. So with this kind of privacy, data privacy thing, how can any companies can conduct this employee background verification securely? So that I know there are any best practices out there, or what are the measures the company can take to address any kind of concerns they are having to handle this personal information submitted by an employee.
Yeah, I think it's moving towards a world where it's not just employers, but everybody wants to know more and more about the other party, wherever the transaction is going to happen. Employment is a kind of a transaction that employer is hiring a candidate, and there is a transaction, there's a contract that you are getting into for provisioning of service where employee provides a service. So the people are trying to get as much data as you can get, trying to make decisions. A lot of those data points are actually collected and not even acted upon. So that's why, first of all, as an organization, I think we should try to restrict to what is absolutely important. Just having more and more data points, and if first of all that may not have correlation. Second is, even if it is correlation, then there's no point of getting more and more data to you and become liable for protection of the data, as well as making sure that the employee has given consent to that. On the employee side or the candidate side, the most important part is that whatever is happening, his consent is taken. It's not really that you can, as an organization, you can go back and start a process where employees even not even aware, and suddenly somebody is checking his antecedent in terms of going to his home or going to his current workplace. Sometimes that have also happened where the employee is still working. So very at the very basic level, I think consent is the most important factor, and consent with the new laws that are coming into picture is something which is at a very granular level, which is that it's not really you're seeking consent at you acknowledge that we are going to do background verification. It has to be like we are going to check these points about you from these people. I think that is a level of consent that has to come to stay on the right side of the law that have been formed or getting formed on that. So one is this part. Second is I think even with the data that is getting collected a lot of time from different places, it might not be correct. So there's a chance to give back, or at least explain, should be given back to the candidate on that. And we've seen that it's not just us. There are places in even in credit bureau data when lenders are taking, and there are we will find that some of the data that is in our records may not necessarily be correct, and we it's our responsibility to really go back and get it fixed with the credit bureau. So, but if we don't even get to know that such a thing has happened, we'll not even be able to do it. So I think we as organization need to take consent. Second is, in case there's an adverse finding, I think at least give a chance to explain on that. The data that we are collecting, there is a storage requirements on that. Especially, I think a lot of us do Aadhaar checks or Aadhaar documents we are collecting and we're keeping as it is. There are requirements, especially of digital Aadhaar, how we can store, how we can process. So I think being very conscious of that is something that can help preserving the privacy of the individual on this. Consent generally takes care of the kind of things that we should not be, say, using for background verification. Again, this is again a policy level, or there's a moral place that comes, moral area that comes into what all do I want to consider for say doing the background verification or assessing the candidate on that. So there also we want to make sure that it is a transparent set of criteria which is kind of applied across the board. It should not suddenly, because a person is from a certain religion or a certain area or a certain other background, economic background, whatever way, and there are different set of checks that we put out to them which are not really to somebody else. That's like clearly discrimination that can be challenged, that can put organizations what bother on them.
So I guess we are good to go. I guess we have covered almost every aspect of the background verification today, right, Deepak sir?
Thank you.
Uh,
I mean, if there's anything else that we would want to, again, we are also always
yes.
learning, so
So
we would
JJ sir,
love to
okay.
know if there are other concerns, then we would want to find out about them and kind of work out solutions for the entire ecosystem.
Allow. So I guess we have JJ sir. He wants to ask a question. Okay, hold on, Mike. Yes, JJ sir, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Uh, I think the PDP, which is Personal Data Protection Bill, which is equivalent of UK GDPR or European Union GDPR, is going to be introduced hopefully in this session. Will it change anything related to the way we store, employee data, including verification data?
Uh, it does storage, processing, sharing, using. I think there's a lot of things which are going to be impacted based on that. Which I think to start with, it is what can we ask, and as an organization, what do we need to share also? Because once the personal data protection not just bill, but it also gives us as candidates or as individuals also right to some of the data which organization earlier may not have shared with somebody. So one clear thing is organization, it's not just organization, the employees also, the individuals also get rights about their data, where almost every system provider will have to enable sharing of this data, or at least the candidate taking it out this data to themselves. I think that's one on the candidate side. On the organization side, it is going to be related to what is the data that we are. I think the consent is the most important fulcrum. Apart from consent, rest all comes into the picture. If consent is not taken, then there are certain areas where it are defined, where you can do something or where you can do data sharing about the employee without their knowledge or consent, etc., which generally are different gray areas. I think most of importantly, as a organization or as a system developer ourselves, one of the most important factor is to be able to take consent for data to move out anywhere. Storage, again, the various Information Technology Act itself covers, like UIDAI Act itself covers some of the things, how we can store and how we can disseminate on that. So I think that is just going to continue even after this.
Hello, JJ sir. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Gaurav, yes.
Thank you so much. So any other participant who wants to ask a question, you can, raise your hand. I can give you right to, unmute yourself. Yes, Narendra. Then we'll show you. Yes, Narendra, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yeah, hi, this is Narendra from Vidya Info. I have a question. So we take Aadhaar card from the employees, right?
Yeah.
But there is a one kind of a compliance that we should mask, or we cannot have the Aadhaar card of any individual, or we should mask it. So how can we secure it? Because for the employee verification or for the identification purpose, we need to have that same copy of the Aadhaar card. How should we
Right.
store that? Or is there any solution for that?
So there are two things. One is the physical copy of Aadhaar, and one is the digital copy of Aadhaar. And the physical copy of
So
Aadhaar,
we
I
take
think,
only scanned copy of the Aadhaar only.
yeah, there also again will even if it's a scanned copy, it becomes a digital copy of Aadhaar. So digital,
Yeah.
the risk in digital is a lot, because let's say for some reason one of the system does get hacked or data gets released, so a lot of it can go out and a lot of it is private personal data. So the law covers a lot more from the digital aspects right now, that it should not be stored in a manner. From last what I checked, and I think I should check again on that, the physical copies, if they are done and they are kept, actually they are not covered on that as much. So the digital part, definitely there is issue with that. We should keep it as masked copy. Other way is that people submitting using the virtual ID, so that there is a definite trace back to a particular employee without really giving out my own Aadhaar number to anybody else on that. So those are two methods on that. Either we can mask it and keep it, and second is we can go back. So Aadhaar number is not really the important factor for us. What is the important factor for us is is the detail provided correct or not? So detail provided is, am I really Deepak Dar, the person who is coming, the photograph and name is matching, and am I coming in, and that is coming out. The second is that is the same person when I was present in, let's say, interviews and when I came over here. So our generally Aadhaar number does not give us any information that we use on day-to-day basis, apart from maybe sometimes for deduplication. But most of the time, the information that we need is my name, probably my address, my photograph, the demographic details which are coming with the Aadhaar. So Aadhaar numbers utility is itself, why would we want to keep it as something that you can look at? As long as we know that, yes, the person who has, let's say, run away, his name was Deepak Dar and he is a resident of this place and this is there. So you have uniquely identified the person and established the antecedents that we can trace him to. So are you using Aadhaar for number specifically for something? Maybe we can just
No,
delve
I don't
deeper.
think that we are using Aadhaar card, but when we got the digital copy, obviously employees are not sending the digital copy while anything, striped it or anything masked. So we are keeping it as we are storing that in the same way. So that's
So
why
if
I'm
you are
asking, sir, is there
using
any
Pocket
solution for that?
HRMS, if you're using Pocket HRMS, I think you can use the integration to fetch the documents directly from DigiLocker,
We are
which will
using
have
the
a
Pocket
masked Aadhaar.
HRMS. Okay, okay.
So then that will already have a masked Aadhaar number when it is fetched from DigiLocker, and because it comes from
So is the
DigiLocker, so anyway
DigiLocker
you.
is only the solution, or is there any other solution?
The other way is we can verify this and we can mask it and we can provide it even the digital copy, so that masking becomes a part of the collection process itself and collection and that process, apart from the part that you have to educate the individuals to give it. So I think a lot of individuals may not really know that they need to mask it, and the burden then comes back to the organization for doing it like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Narendra, for asking the question. Anyone else? Already 5:15, 5:12. If you have any questions, please raise your hand or ask in the chat box. I guess there are no any questions. So Deepak sir, any final key takeaways for today's session?
I think most
Any final
importantly
thought?
is that there is a cat and mouse game that will keep going on, which is related to that there will be people who will invent better and more sophisticated ways of fraud. Technology is going to continue to aid the people who are trying to conduct a fraud, and technology is going to continue to aid people who are trying to catch frauds and trying to mitigate risk for their organization and for themselves. What is required for us is we need to be as diligent and as active in using the tools and the technology that are becoming available as people who are trying to commit any kind of frauds or fake IDs and everything else. So that's one of the most important. Technology is available. It is making sure that we are requesting for the technology and using the technology to help us navigate the risks that are getting created.
I guess we can end the session on this note. If you guys have any kind of queries, you can feel free to reach out to our account managers. If you want to use the add-on, that's BGV add-on with the Pocket HRMS, please feel free to be in touch with us. We are happy to help you guys. Okay. And also I'm sharing one link over here. So please give me a second. We are now creating this WhatsApp community for all the customers where we'll be keeping you all notified if we have any kind of webinars, training programs. as you all of know, must be knowing that we have started this weekly basis training series. So we send the emails to you on email address, but somehow it is not able to reach the audience on fully basis. So I'm sharing the link in the chat box. If you guys can click on it and join the committee so that you can get directly message from us on your WhatsApp. So it will be easier for us and for you to get the notifications about these training sessions, about the various kind of webinars, about all the activities which you are conducting on regular basis. So I have put the link in a chat box. Please copy paste it if you're on device, or you can simply click on it and join the community. I guess it is working, link working. Yes, link is working. I can see people are joining in. Even I'll share the link via our account manager as well, so that you can uh, join the community later. Okay. Also, I'll be sharing a link of a Google form where you guys need to put your official email address of a contact person, so that I can send you the details on if the email is the medium which you're using on a regular basis. So I can put those things. I keep you notified via emails as well. People are joining in. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in the community. Okay, then, Deepak sir, I guess it's only 5:15. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time out of your busy schedule for us. And in future, we might need some other session as well. We'll plan it out, some other aspects of BJV or any other topic for this Smart Talk session. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Gaurav. Thank you everyone for hearing me out. I hope it was useful for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. We'll see you in the next training session. So in next week on Thursday, we are having a training program, which is a weekly training program. I'll be sharing the link to you for registration on via email as well as in WhatsApp group. And if not, then through your account managers, I'll be sharing those things with you. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful weekend and wonderful evening. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.